just wanted to review the situation in relation to Kevin Rudd, Donald Trump and Nigel Farage in this interview that he had during the week, Farage had with Trump, and the controversy that has arisen from this, which has been intense, to say the least, particularly on Sky News, where it has been revamped and revamped and over-revamped and continually revamped until at the end of the day, one wonders whether it was a Sky News effort in order to have this question raised by Farage with Trump so that some controversy could be developed. And it has paid dividends, I think, for Sky News, in that this has developed an increasing controversy on whether Rudd should be the ambassador to the US. Now, regardless of what you think of Rudd, as I said in my previous video, I'm not a fan, but regardless of how one feels about him, this has been a concocted story which is becoming more and more painful the longer it continues. Now, I've got a video here which is from Sky News. It discusses this issue. And what they've done also in this is that I'll be replaying some of what the Farage interview was all about, but also I'll be playing what Rudd actually says or has said over the years about Trump. And there is nothing that Rudd has said that I personally would disagree with. There'd be many on my side of politics who would agree with me that many of the things that Trump has done have been appalling. And had he enacted or behaved in those particular ways here in Australia, I'm sure he would have been ousted in a moment. But that isn't the way the United States rolls, apparently. And I also just want to make this point that I think it's appropriate that Rudd has talked about this after his prime ministership, and as he is this kind of ambassador to Australia, worldwide ambassador, and particularly in relation to his contacts with China, I think it's important to understand that he has a voice, and that he exercised his voice in an appropriate manner, in fact, when he criticised Trump. Does that mean then that anybody who would wish to become an ambassador must at all point make sure that they do not say the things that may upset the other side? Well, I think that's probably pretty unrealistic. Rudd was pretty outspoken about most things, so to be able to be outspoken about Trump was probably appropriate in the context in which Rudd was conducting his life at that time. So I'll play the video for you. Now, some of you probably have already seen it enough times, they just get bored. I've made a few additional comments along the way that you might find interesting just to break it up. So let me know what you think, but also at the same time, just remind me to subscribe to my channel. Had a few subscribers lately, which has been pretty damn exciting. So subscribe to my channel as well, but also make some comments below. That would be fabulous.
Which exposed the Albanese government's error in making Kevin Rudd our US ambassador.
And our friends at Sky News Australia wanted me to ask you this.
I think the important thing here to understand is just the error that has been made. Was it an error making him an ambassador because of these comments? Is that the only thing? Because you guys are the one that started all of this. So this is your way of having a go, I think, at Rudd and the Albanese government.
Place on nuclear submarines, America, the UK, Australia, very, very important deal. It's there to try and combat that huge growth, naval growth in China. But now, of course, things have changed in Australia. We've got a Labour government in Australia. The previous ambassador, Joe Hockey, I think was quite a good friend of yours. You got on pretty well with him. Now they've appointed Kevin Rudd, former Labour MP. I mean, he has said the most horrible things. You were a destructive president, a traitor to the West, and he's now Australia's ambassador in Washington.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Would you take a phone call from him?
He won't be there long if that's the case. I don't know much about him. I heard he was a little bit nasty. I hear he's not the brightest bulb, but I don't know much about him. But if he's at all hostile, he will not be there long.
.com.au afternoon editor Tyrone Clark, which makes the point.
Trump at present represents a political liability for both sides of Australian politics.
And I just need to add that I think that was a realistic statement for someone who was Prime Minister at that particular point in time. And we must cast our minds back a few weeks where Turnbull made similar comments about his own party, about members of his own party. And no one really crapped their dacks in relation to any of that. But in this instance, because he happens to be ambassador, I guess it has a different complexion.
So if you're going to defend the proposition of an alliance with the United States for the future, it has to be done in terms of the alliance is intrinsically valuable, whatever the future may hold, and Trump's only around for another 3 years, maybe less, depending on the midterms. This guy is a problem. He is an objective problem for the world, for the region, for my country, and of course, not as an American, I will not comment on the problem he represents to the United States domestically. So he's a buzzword. And Donald, as we know, is not a leading intellectual force.
I have to comment on that because a lot of people laughed because it is a joke. The man is as dumb as they come, yet people seem to celebrate his ingenuity and creativity and all the other stuff that he isn't, because he is simply the front runner and there's a lot of stupid people who wish to vote for him. But this was an appropriate comment. It's something, so Rudd said something that most people think and believe anyway. And now it seems to me he's being ridiculed for actually being open and honest.
But Donald has, you know, a basic sort of political instinct. And his campaign was, all you people out there from Trumpland.
What we have with President Trump is for him to maximise, as it were, the politics of division through his appearance yesterday in front of the Episcopal Church there just behind the White House.
But many in the media were simply unable to comprehend why this was news, and more importantly, why we wanted the question.
Well, it was only news because you guys chose to make it news. You asked Farage to ask this question of Trump. You knew that this was going to set things off. You created this news. So that is the issue. And not enough people are actually talking about this, I don't think, that Sky News created the narrative here on purpose because they knew that Rudd had said these things about Trump in the past. And so do not say what you just said, mate, because you're the ones that are directing this particular narrative, no one else. And the fact that other people have got their knickers in and not over it, and certainly they quote Barry in a moment. But anyway, let's just see what more he has to say.
Media Watch host Paul Barry ignored the political issues with having an inflammatory, partisan US ambassador, and instead thought Trump should be savaged. Why did so many in the media savage Rudd, not Trump, for this? Did they all pile into the Pope when Trump took aim at him? A lot of poor reporting and commentary. And on the ABC, the AFR's chief political correspondent,
and and again, this is another important point, I think, is that appears to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, folks, but it appears to me that Trump can say whatever he wants to say about somebody else. He can be disparaging of the German Chancellor Angela. He can be disparaging of a number of people, lots of people, everybody, anyone who criticises him. He will put down, say something negative, call them a name. Look at the number of people within the Republican Party that he's called fat. He's told them that their wives are ugly. I mean, the man is a disgrace. Yet Rudd simply was talking about something that he believed and which most of us do believe. Yet we hear this other stuff from Trump, but no one seems to care. that he says the far more worse things than the commentary that Rudd offered in relation to Trump. And the media chooses to do nothing, say nothing, apart from perhaps the MSNBCs and CNNs of this world. But the right wing celebrate the craziness of this man, and the fact that the Sky News are running this particular theme at the moment indicates where they sit and where their prejudices are and their biases. And there's one thing for certain, and that is that they're not bipartisan on this issue. They are as partisan as they come.
Why the story was important.
If he doesn't like Rudd and he doesn't want to let him through the front door, then we do have a problem.
But we don't have it yet, because it's 8 months away.
No,
so is the coalition right to politicise it then?
Well, I heard the Prime Minister say, how dare you politicise a diplomatic appointment, as if that's never been done.
We're getting there too early, that's one thing, we're overreacting. But also, Trump's a chameleon, so he shifts around a lot.
He is, Fran.
Oh, yeah, they might be best friends in a couple of months.
Well, they...
Interestingly, the ABC was running defence for Rudd, making the case that it's only an issue if it becomes an issue. Now, Rudd might be trying to present himself as a
it is only, and they're right. PK and Fran Kelly are right. It only becomes an issue, I guess, to some extent, if at the end of the day Trump does win the presidency. But then Trump is just as likely to... he'll bombard AUKUS, he'll get rid of AUKUS, he'll destroy NATO. He's got all these other things on the agenda that will be far more important than whether or not Kevin Rudd is the ambassador to the US. And the relationship, everything with Trump is transactional anyway. So he doesn't forgive what people say, but he will use them in order to get what he wants. So if there's something he wants from Australia, I can assure you that Trump will try and find a way to get it, even if Kevin Rudd is the ambassador. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Subscribe to my channel, ring the bell, and let's have a conversation about what you think in relation to this particular issue. Was it contrived by was it contrived by Sky, or is it a genuine, legitimate discussion to be having? In the meantime, take care, look after yourselves.